Self-identity, when stripped of external influences like culture, religion, and politics, centers on understanding one's inherent character. It involves recognizing personal values, emotions, and behavior patterns dependent of societal constructs. This process requires introspections to explore core traits such as kindness, resilience, curiosity, or integrity. By detaching from external labels and ideologies, individuals can uncover a deeper sense of who they are, defined not by their affiliations, but by their authentic actions, motivations, and interpersonal dynamics. This journey fosters self-awareness, enabling growth in alignment with one's true essence, free from external expectations or biases. We may live our lives masking a different person, whether we are a mom, dad, Christian, Muslim, Catholic, heterosexual, homosexuals, and tons of titles we live by. But at the end of the day, when all of those titles, which we consider our identity, is stripped away from us, can we truly be our authentic self? Or are we just masking ourselves to portray to others that we are those things to truly hide our true identity? 2025 just started. However, as the year progressed, let's not forget to live authentically versus living for others when really, are we truly happy to live for others? Are we really ourselves, or are we just hiding our true self from the world? Hello, and welcome back to another episode of yours truly. It is I, your one and only host, Druelee, of course. As you heard from the introduction, this episode, we're going to dive deep into how we can live ourselves authentically. Now, I've been thinking a lot about this topic. As a single woman, for me, I don't know about you guys, but as a single woman, I tend to think a lot in my head. And for some reason, this has been up in my head a lot of times. Just thinking about who I am as an individual, who I live for, and what I stand for as well. And for some reason, I've been thinking a lot about when I am no longer a daughter, when I'm no longer a friend, or I don't know, employee, or a spiritual person, or a Hmong daughter, Hmong woman myself. Who am I as an individual? Can I authentically be myself while wearing all these masks, or am I just hiding from those things just so that people don't really know who I truly am, right? And so in this episode, I just wanted to, give you guys some tips and also just talk to you guys about how you can stay true to yourself when it comes to, living in the world where you are surrounded by loved ones, either your friends or your families, coworkers, or whoever, and just find that time to just be authentically you, to be you, of course, and that you don't have to hide from those masks. You don't have to fake it till you make it. You won't fake who you truly are. And so I hope you guys find this interesting, because for me, it sure did. And I just been thinking a lot about this. And you guys know me, I don't sugarcoat anything. I'm very blunt, I'm very honest, and my podcast and myself, I'm all about being honest, being truthful. I have nothing to hide. And whatever you guys hear or see of me, that's truly who I am. And I'm sure, there's two sides of everything, right? You can show who you truly are in public, or you can hide it from public itself, whatever it is. But for me, this is who I truly am. I just enjoy just educating. I enjoy sharing information. I am just a curious human being, right? And I just want to learn a lot of things, research it, and share it to you guys. And other than that, yeah, let's get into this episode. So, how can you stay true to yourself when so much of your time and energy is spent caring for others? Whether you have kids of your own, you have a partner, you live with your families, or you're surrounded with families, or even the demands of work, right? It's easy to lose sight of who you are in the process. But there's the thing, living authentically doesn't mean neglecting your responsibilities. It means finding ways to honor your true self while showing up for others you care about. So, being your authentic self means letting go of all the labels and roles, whether you are a parent, a partner, employee, friend, that often defines you, and reconnecting with the essence of who you truly are. Without the titles and the ideologies, ask yourself, what do I value? What brings me joy? What feels true to me? Authenticity begins when you focus on how you can feel and what resonates with your inner self, not just how you're perceived by others. It's about being comfortable with your imperfections, your passions, and even your uncertainties. When you stripped everything away, your authenticity comes from within, not from what you do, but from who you are. So, two questions that I have been wondering about, and hopefully, this will help you to think about yourself and ask yourself when staying true to yourself and being authentic and being authentically you is, how do you know you're authentically you? And what does it mean to live authentically? So let's go ahead and dive into those two questions. So the first question, of course, how do you know you are authentically you? Here's the thing. Most people don't even stop to ask this question. They just assume they're being themselves because, well, who else would they be, right? But the truth is, many of us are walking around as carefully curated versions of ourselves, wearing masks that we didn't even realize we put on. So, how do you strip all of that away and know deep down that you're being your true self? Let's find out. First things first, are your decisions aligned with your values? This is a big one. So, you ask yourself, why am I doing what I am doing right now? Is it because it feels right to you, or is it because you're trying to meet someone else's expectations? For example, are you in that job because it lights a fire in you, or because it's what your parents or society told you what the right thing to do? Here's a clue. When you're living in alignment with your true self, the choices you make feels right, even if it's difficult. There is this quiet sense of peace, like you live in harmony with what you really believe. But when you're out of alignment, that's when doubts creeps in. That's when you feel stuck, drained, or like you're constantly putting on a show for the world. Here's another sign you are living authentically. You're not afraid of your imperfections. Let me ask you this. How much of your energy goes into hiding the parts of yourself you don't like? Maybe it's that quirky laugh you've been told is too loud, or the fact that you get emotional over the smallest things. But guess what? Those so-called flaws are exactly what makes you you. When you're living authentically, you're not wasting energy trying to airbrush yourselves into perfections. You embrace your quirks, your scars, your weird little habits because you know they're part of what makes you human. So here's the litmus test. If someone compliments you on something that isn't perfect, like how passionate you get about absurd hobbies or how you wear your head on your sleeve, do you own it or do you brush it off of embarrassment? Authenticity means owning it, all of it. Now let's talk about a sneaky obstacle of authenticity, the should trap. You know what I'm talking about. Those little voices in your head that says you shouldn't be more successful by now, or you should be married with kids, or you should act more professional. But let me ask you, who says? Seriously, where did all those shoulds even come from? They're usually people's rules, not yours. You guys, I can relate to this because even though I'm single, my mom is still telling me to go find me a man. That way I'm more secure and that I have somebody to take care of me. But I'm just like, Mom, that's what you want. But as right now, I don't want that. So that's her rules, not mine. And to know if you're being your true self, pay attention to those moments when you're doing something because you feel like you have to rather than because you want to. Live authentically means being willing to say, you know what, that should doesn't apply to me. I'm choosing my own path. And here's a big question for you. How do you feel when you're alone? This one might hit a little deep, but stay with me. I mean, I can relate, and I've been doing this for a long time, but ask yourself, how do you feel when you're alone? When no one is watching, no audience, no filters, no expectations, how do you feel about the person staring back at you in the mirror? Do you like them? Do you trust them? Or do you feel like you don't even know who they are? Your relationship with yourself is the foundation of authenticity. If you're uncomfortable with your own company, it might be a sign that you're living too much for others and not enough for yourself. So I suggest you to try this. Spend some intentional time alone. No distractions, no phone, just you. See what comes up. Do you feel at peace or do you feel like you're meeting a stranger? Either way, that's the starting point. Now, let's get real about something. Authenticity doesn't mean you're happy all the time. That's one of the biggest misconceptions out there. Being your true self doesn't mean life magically becomes easy or perfect. In fact, it can get messy. Because when you stop pretending, you have to confront the parts of your life that don't fit anymore. That is hard work, but the reward is worth it. Honestly, I'm telling you, it is worth it because the more you embrace your true self, the more freedom you feel. You don't feel stuck at all. You just feel like your true self. Think of it this way. Authenticity isn't a destination. It's a practice. It's about checking in with yourself every day and asking, am I showing up for me? Am I showing up as me right now? Or am I putting on a mask to please someone else? The more you practice, the easier it becomes to spot when you're drifting away from your true self, and the easier it becomes to course correct. And here's the best part. When you are living authentically, you inspire others to do the same. Think about the people you admire most in life. They're probably the ones who own who they are unapologetically. They're not trying to blend in, they're blazing their own trail, and guess what? You have the same power as well. By living as your true selves, you give others permissions to do the same. It's a ripple effect. So, how do you know you're authentically you? It's when your actions match your values, when you embrace your imperfections, and when you live your life instead of the shoulds of the world. And most importantly, it's when you can look into the mirror and say, I know who I am, and I know who I've become. Now let's go to the second question that you should ask yourself. What does it mean for you to live authentically? And more importantly, how can you actually pull it off in a world that's constantly telling you who to be? Think about it. For the moment we wake up, we're bombarded with messages from social medias, advertisements, and even people around us, all subtly or not so subtly suggesting how we should look, act, and live. So how do you stay true to yourself when it comes to the entire world who's trying to shape into someone else? Here's the good news. Living authentically isn't about reinventing your life overnight or suddenly becoming a monk in the mountains. It's about small, conscious choices, each one designed to pull you closer to your true self. And today, we're breaking it down into practical, no fluff steps, ready to finally figure out who you are and what you stand for. You have to ask yourself, are you living life on autopilot? And be honest, okay? How often do you catch yourself just going through the motions, following routines you didn't even choose, or saying yes to things just because it's easier than explaining what you'd rather say no? Living authentically starts by hitting pause on all that noises. Try this. Next time someone invites you to something, stop and ask yourself, do I actually want to do this, or am I just afraid of how they'll react when I say no? That single moment of honesty is the first step forward, reclaiming your time and energy. And you guys, it's okay to say no or just say next time. Hopefully they understand and they are okay with your answer. Because if not, you gotta reconsider who these people are to you, okay? Let's go back to what we're actually talking about. But what if you don't know what you want to do? That's where step 2 comes in. Rediscovering your passion. And no, I'm not talking about finding your one true calling. Forget that pressure for a second. Just think back to when you were a kid. What did you love to do before anyone told you whether it was cool or worthwhile? Was it drawing? Was it exploring the outdoors? Making up ridiculous stories? Chances are the things that light you up as a child hold clues to what will bring you joy today. Here's a fun experiment. Block off 1 hour, okay? Block off 1 hour this week to try something, anything that sparks a little curiosity. Maybe it's picking up a paintbrush, trying a new recipe, or learning a dance from a YouTube tutorial or TikTok. TikTok is back, okay? But if you still have TikTok, chances are you'll be able to learn some dance here or there, right? But the point is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It's to reconnect with the parts of you that feels more alive. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Other people's opinions. Yeah, sometimes other people's opinions can be gross out, but those pesky judgments that can make you second guess every decision. How do you stop caring so much about what other people think? Well, here's a secret, you guys. You don't have to stop caring completely. After all, humans are wired to seek connections, and some level of feedback from others is natural. The trick is learning to prioritize those opinions actually matters. Ask yourself, does this person truly know me? Do they have my best interests at heart? Or are they just projecting their insecurities onto me? Once you start filtering out the noise, you realize how many options you've been holding onto that were never about you in the first place. All right, here's a question you might not have considered. Are you being honest with yourself? Living authentically isn't just about standing up for others, it's also about confronting your excuses. You know the ones, I'll start tomorrow, it's too late for me, or I'm just not good enough. We all have that thinking, even me, myself. I've been thinking about those things too, okay? But let's be real, those are just fear's greatest hits on repeat. And the only way to silence them is to actually take actions, even if it's messy or imperfect. If you want to write a book, start with one paragraph. Dreaming of starting a business, spend 30 minutes brainstorming ideas. Living authentically means being brave enough to start before you're ready, because guess what? No one's ever completely ready. Now I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great, but isn't authentically just exhausting? After all, being yourself takes effort, especially when the world isn't exactly cheering you on. But here's the thing. Pretending to be someone you're not, that's the real energy drain. Trust me, when you are somebody that you're not, that's too much, okay? So every moment you spend living for others is a moment stolen from your happiness. So all along, you guys, I know this is going to be a very short episode, but I just want you guys to live your authentic self, okay? I get that we consume our life for other people, and especially for those who are people pleaser, dial that down a little bit, okay? And start pleasing yourself. I don't mean that way, but like start pouring love to yourself, okay? Because when you live authentically, it doesn't mean you have to be fearless or have to have it all figured out, okay? It just means you're just willing to take off the mask and say, this is me, flaws and all, okay? That is it, you guys. I hope that this short episode will give you guys an insight of how to, live your life authentically for yourself and to understand what it means to live authentically. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of steps that you can do to live authentically, but I advise you to seek that for yourself. If you truly want to no longer live for other people, to please them, to drain your energy from these people, and you want to pour it all to yourself, I highly recommend you guys to seek that. Be the first one to take that step and to truly want something real for yourself. As much as we may put on different masks every day in our lives and be that version for other people, just know that when all of those masks is stripped down, stripped away from who you are as an individual, your character, are you a good person? Are you living your life authentically for you? Or are you just a really bad person or a very negative person? I just want everybody to start off this year just to be our authentic self, to identify ourselves, and not just let our mask and our ideologies and our titles to be our identity. It may be part of it, but when you're no longer a mom, you're no longer a woman, when you're no longer a male, a teacher, a police person, or all those titles that we have, right? When we no longer have that, who are we truly are to the core? Are we a bitter person? Are we a positive person? Like, who are we? And I just want to end this episode for you guys so that you guys can think about this question, ask yourself that, and just live a better life, you guys. Live a positive, good energy, good vibe, okay? That's all I'm here for. Good energy, good vibe. Anything negative, like, we gotta let that shit go, okay? All in all, as I progress in this podcast, I will slowly and surely have it so it's a lot shorter. I know that in the past, I tend to just blabber and have my mind all over the place, but I am just going to straighten out my ideas, straighten out my thinking, just so that it's straight to the point, so that it doesn't drain you guys, and that you guys are able to take a lot of good advice and good information that I am providing for you guys. And all in all, let's become the best version of ourselves. Let's live authentically us. And we don't give a fuck about what anybody has to say about who we are, right? But other than that, thank you so much for listening and tuning in. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.